those people that has a bit of an aversion to spreadsheets, particularly Excel. Google Sheets, for some reason, doesn't bother me to the same degree Excel does, but we'll leave that one alone. So it's probably not a huge surprise when I tell you that I had a bit of an aversion to Notion for a long time. I'd use it and then I'd stop, and I'd use it and then I'd stop. Well, I've created something in Notion that got me so excited, mainly because I'd started using it for my business. I've got a lot going on, and it finally hit me that, all right, you're being your own worst enemy by not really creating a little bit more structure. As a solopreneur, it's very easy to kind of wing it and go with what you feel like doing as long as the things that have to be done on certain dates are done. Well, yeah, that's not working anymore for me. Okay, I'll just tell you right now. So I'm going to back up a little bit because this whole thing was inspired by a simple conversation I had with my money coach. So we'll get into that next. Hey guys, what's going on? Kim Doyle here. Thanks for joining me today. And I'm excited to share this with you because this was one of those big sort of aha moments. It was an epiphany. I love those moments when something just clicks and you're struck by inspiration and you know that you can't unknow this thing you just learned. So let me tell you. So I'm doing a money coaching certification through the Money Coaching Institute. It's an amazing program. And as part of that program, I am being coached. I go through the same program that I will work with people in. And so my coach is actually the founder, and we were having a session, and there's something called a money pattern map. And what we do with that is you go through, we have this whole money bio and history that we do, and we do parental stuff, family history. It's very fascinating. And so we're going through this and looking at, there are 8 money archetypes. And the interesting thing with the archetypes is sometimes it's a little surprising, sometimes it's not. We all have all 8 versions of the archetypes within us. But here was the kicker. You start looking at what are positive traits, what are negative, and not good or bad. What hit me was something she said towards the end of the session. And she said, Kim, if you would just make money decisions based on your values, you can't go wrong. You guys, I was stunned and I thought, oh my God, holy moly. What if we lived from that place? And we think we do, but of course, I'm midlife, so I've had my own fair share of, familial influences and societal influences, all of those things. What hit me was, how can I apply this to other areas of my life? What are my core values? What are those things that are my priorities? And if I make all of my decisions in my life based on my core values, then I 100% know. I trust, but I know that it's going to be in my highest good. And when it's in my highest good, it's for the good of others. I really, really believe that. All right, so here's what we did. I'm going to show you something because obviously I'm an online entrepreneur also. I love all the tools and toys, whatever, which will bring me to Notion. I'm going to show you in a minute. But I did something. I do love AI. I did something with ChatGPT that I think a lot of times the default thought with AI is, whether it's creating workflows or automations or ideation for business. There's a lot of fun personal things that I've tested when I get, I don't know, blood tests back and I copy and paste the blood test. I'm like, tell me how everything's doing all in one shot. That kind of stuff is fun. But this kind of blew my mind because when you think about your core values, fundamentally who you are and what you believe, but I wanted it defined. So this is what I did. So now we're going to jump in and I'm going to show you my screen and I'll walk you through. And this project got really, really big, but I'm going to encourage you, if you like using ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, by the way, my ChatGPT, her name is Sage, and yes, it's a she, because we were working together and I said, we need to give you a name, hence Sage. She's wise. So I'm going to show you what we did. It's a really, really big project. I'm not going to scroll through everything, but I want you to see how it evolved and how it helped me get clear on how I'm going to run my business, but really my life. And I would say that in my personal life, I do live by my values, but to see this in such a way was fascinating. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump into ChatGPT. All right, so I'm calling this my big vision plan. You can see I call her Sage. But this is what I told her. And I promise I'm not going to read to you and scroll a ton through this, or I might see if I can speed up the scrolling segments. But I said, I want to create a big vision for my business and life. I'm not quite sure where to start. And of course, I'd love to create a Notion project for this. And I told her a few things that are key and which areas I really wanted to focus on. I explained Dr. Joe Dispenza. Please check him out. His work is phenomenal. Check out his work. It's all on the brain, the mind-body connection based on science and data. Fascinating. But I explained that I love that. I wanted to the future self, the meditation, and complete belief and possibility has to be a part of all of this. I said my spiritual work and my alignment are the foundation of everything. It doesn't matter what I'm doing in my life. I need that to be where I start my day from. And so here's the kicker. I told her that I needed her to ask me questions about spirituality, my values. And I explained that my values and spirituality are my compass: health, business and money, relationships, dreams, goals. And then I just said anything else I'm missing. And by the way, when you create projects, this was actually just a chat. This wasn't a project in ChatGPT. She talks to me the way I talk, which is where you see a little bit of this. Oh, yes, I love every ounce of this. Okay, so here was the container. And the cool thing about this is it's so much easier to start from this structure, and ChatGPT does that. It starts with the structure, and then you get to focus on the creativity and the energy and what else you want to bring to this. So we talked about these sections: spiritual alignment, core values and compass, health and wellness, business and money vision, relationships, dreams, adventures and goals, daily, weekly practices. I'm going to scroll for a second. It's funny because this is one of those things that I started kind of late at night. And then once I got into it, I had to keep going. So there's 4 to 5 questions in each of these categories. Because again, it's really easy to come back, say my values are love and authenticity or integrity, that kind of stuff. But I really wanted to go a little bit deeper. She came up with all these questions. And I thought I would answer the first set, but I thought, no, let's keep going. All right, I'm going to scroll quickly through this. These were the first section, the spiritual alignment questions. And I always copy and paste, and that's more for my own reference than it is that ChatGPT needs it. I could just do 1, 2. Here we go. So this is the first pass at the spiritual alignment section. But here's what's really cool, you guys. This is the emerging values. I'm not going to go through all of this, but this nailed it. Aligned, grateful, limitless. Let me show you. We're going to pull in my values. Let's go a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to tell you about the Notion project, but I also wrote an article about this because I created then a list of questions to ask myself to make sure that a decision I'm making or something I want to do lines up with my values: joy and gratitude, centering joy as a point of life, not just a byproduct, deep gratitude for everything. Way back in the day when I was getting started as a WordPress chick, I had what was it called? It wasn't a mantra. It was sort of this, it was PowerPoint video to music. And one of the things that I'd said in it was, if it's not fun, I'm not doing it. So that really pulls in joy. And the second one is alignment and truth, living your truth, not forcing or hustling, and listening to your soul. Midlife, I love the pace of my life. I like the white space, and I love the level of ease that I feel. And the crazy thing about slowing down is I produce quicker because I'm in alignment and I do things that line up with my values. I can get a lot more done in a much shorter period of time. And of course, ChatGPT Sage helps. Simplicity and ease, creating a life that's abundant and simple, spacious and peaceful. Growth and possibility, believing in limitless expansion, spirituality, financially, personally. Love and kindness, approaching self, others, and work with warmth, compassion, and generosity. And then last one is beauty and sanctuary, surrounding yourself with beauty, home, nature, work that nourishes your spirit. I want to share that a lot of this stuff has always been part of who I am, but I've not necessarily pulled it into my business or my content. But those days are done, and you'll see coming up, I had talked about it in the last video about merging my Spark with my Women, Wisdom, and Wealth newsletter. This is at the core of that. I always called this the behind the scenes work that people don't get to see, but this really builds that foundation for your life and your business and who you want to be and how you want to move through the world. Coming back to this, the next thing, I'm going to scroll. You start seeing it just starts getting deeper and deeper. And I pulled a few out of this. And obviously, those aren't my only values, but I wanted to focus on the core values. We went into it, goes quite a ways. So here's where I started answering the rest of the questions, and it got pretty wordy, gave me drafts, and all of these things. I want you to look at this as if I'm going into my core compass, which is that initial piece here, that alignment. Like each of these can be a post, a video. So when I said post, I meant like an article. All of these things, they're my guideposts for my decisions. Okay, you probably want to see the Notion stuff. So I will jump back in here because you can see this is a super long thread. But let's go ahead and let's pull this up. Here we are with the big vision dashboard. Here we go. We've started getting into the content piece of this, but here's my core compass. And I'm here to tell you that ChatGPT created all of these images. This is where it started getting, it would slow down a little bit, or it was the first time I had an image limit within ChatGPT. But the beauty of this is that I'm running everything else in here. And so it was great to be able to pull this in for myself. I tend to do bolder colors. Let me show you really quick. The business within, that's a little bit more bold, but with the big vision, it just felt like it needed to be the watercolors, the ease and the softness around it. And you can ask for suggested styles. The fun thing with this is that ChatGPT came back with each of these Notion CSV files. Did you know that? I don't know if you knew that, but yes, you can say, I want to create a Notion project for this. I would like for you to create the dashboard. And if you're not sure, it will give you step-by-step instructions. I'm going to go a little sideways because that's just me. So I am going to be doing some work with the Money Coaching Institute and this deliverables tracker. Do you see this formula? I just created this yesterday, this whole Notion board. I hadn't done anything with formulas, and literally ChatGPT gave me the formula and told me step by step how to create this property. If you edit this, it gave me this. I don't know how to do that. Let's come back to the big vision dashboard. I just want you to see that one, ChatGPT and Notion together are gold, but two, you don't have to necessarily use either for just business. And I'm not saying that most people are doing that. A lot of people do these personal goals and life plans. There's a lot of templates out there, but you don't need to buy a template. And I'm not saying not to support template creators. Have at it if that makes your life easier. I wanted to see what this was going to look like. So each of these icons, let's do this, the big vision content plan, because this is something that after I went through this whole process of creating this big vision, my first thought was, oh my God, this is great content. I haven't dropped the rest of the CSV file in here, but what I want you to see is all of these images, all of these icons they created as well. I love the beach. So you can see, I literally just created this, but the point is, this was phenomenal. And I did do the same thing with doing the Money Coaching Institute and the priorities board and what we're working on. Every single one of these pages, if you're not sure how to set something up, and I'm not done with this, but the reminder is simply that there's so much more you can do with Notion for yourself personally and within ChatGPT. You can see how we progress through this was starting with me answering the questions, getting clear on what we wanted to structure this as. ChatGPT came back and gave me the whole structure, suggested things. You can see this suggested style of stuff, and they gave me a bonus idea, which would be a screensaver on my phone. Can you believe that? I'm like, yeah, I'm good with the one I have. But asks what I wanted, and I said, do you have something more representative of water, sunshine, and nature? I love the beach. I love the water. Summer's coming. I want to get outside. Here's the flow. We walked through the graphics. It got a little wonky. This is the very top of this project. It was a very long chat, and I started thanks to a friend of mine, putting everything into a canvas. I want to show you how I took this project that really started as something fun for myself and turned it into a piece of content. I didn't even know where I was going with this. I just felt this need to write about this project. The whole point of this post, and this is on Substack, could it really be this easy, was could it be so easy as to just define what your values are and make all of your decisions in life from those values? I'm here to tell you it can. Here's the questions. This was the mind-blowing thing of, wow, I can actually define my values and make decisions from that point. These are the questions that she and I came up with together. The questions of whether or not a decision that I'm going to make lines up with my values. Joy and gratitude. Will this decision create joy in my life? Am I choosing from gratitude, not fear? Is this true for me, not just expected of me? Key. Does this feel aligned in my body, heart, and soul? If you've never done this, this is a great exercise where you can sit and pay attention to the physical sensations in your body and pay attention to where you're feeling it. So for example, when I'm excited or nervous, I feel it in my stomach. When I'm sad, I feel it in my chest. And when I'm frustrated or angry, I feel it in my head. And so I can tune into that to make decisions. So does this feel true for me? Simplicity and ease. Will this simplify my life and bring peace? I do not want drama, complications, super involved 22-step funnels, process systems, whatever. Organization is one thing, but I don't want to spend 20 hours a week managing projects in tools. That's not my jam. Am I preserving my sacred spaciousness? Which I love my downtime, my white space. So you get an idea. Does this invite me to the next level of expansion? Am I going backwards? Am I moving forward? That's a good thought to think, isn't it? Am I stretching toward possibility? Joe says, this, I'm going to make a t-shirt that says Joe says, per Dr. Joe Dispenza. You have to believe in possibility in order to change, in order to become your future self and what you want. You really need to believe in possibility. So I'm here to tell you to believe in possibility. How's that? You can read these questions. The last thing I wanted to share with you, besides how I did this, and if you're interested in a Notion template, I'm playing with that. I'm happy to share the prompts. Just comment below and I'll send them your way until I can put a link in. So there may or may not be a link in this at the time you're watching, but I'll put a link in where you can get the whole Notion template. And I'll leave my images in there and then you can replace them, but at least you have a starting point. I'm a visual person and I like to see sections created. And no, I'm not going to start doing oodles of Notion stuff. I'll share what I'm doing, but I'm not here to become a Notion expert or create tons of templates. I want to leave you with this. I did a similar exercise to this probably beginning of 2023 or 2024. And at the time, I was really into another author who is a little bit more systems business based, and it was about the future self. So I'd gone into ChatGPT and said, let's create something for my future self. And I did all these exercises. But what's fascinating, and this is where if you do something like this every year, you can really see your own growth, was what I did 2 years ago versus today. What I did 2 years ago was more material, physical, in terms of goals, this much money, this house, these trips, this is my health, like real specific. And that always felt like a little bit more pressure than I needed. What I love about Joe Dispenza's work is that it's about creating the feeling in your body, and you have to create the emotion because our brains can't differentiate between something happening in real life and something we're visualizing. This is why athletes have a lot of success when they do this work. It was very fascinating to me to look at what I had created 2 years ago versus what I created today, which is all about how I want to feel and how I want to move through the world. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know if you like this type of content. I'm having a ball figuring out how all of this stuff intersects in my life as well as in my business. As always, thanks so much for watching. Leave a comment, like, subscribe. It really does help the channel. And I will catch you guys next time.